First technique that we're going to look at today is wet into wet painting or blending. So the first thing I want to do is put down what we call a ground colour, and this will be relevant to all our painting examples. We always put a ground colour down so that it makes whatever colour you put on top rich. So I'm going to work with a green colour palette this morning, and so I'm going to put down a watered down background. It doesn't need to be really thick and it doesn't need to be super tidy. I'm just going to put that down. We're just going to paint a rectangle so that we can practice going from darker tones of the colour range to the lighter tones up here. Okay, so the thing about wet into wet painting is usually you'll use a nylon brush that's a little bit softer, and so that you can move the paint around on the surface of the paper. Now, similar to when you are using a pencil to shade, you'll start from the darker end to the lighter end. So I'm going to pick up some blue here, and I'm going to add the dark on the end here. You can see that I'm pulling the colour out, starting to pull the colour out, so that then I can add a different colour in here. I need a little bit of blue because I need it to stay quite wet. The thicker the paint, and if you have higher quality thick impasto paint, you do need to work quite quickly, and if the paper is quite absorbent, which means it soaks up the moisture, it will dry the paint quite quickly. So now once I've got some blue down, and you can see the shine on that there, I'm going to pick up a little bit of yellow, and I'll start a little bit further back here so that the yellow can stay quite yellow, but then I want to bring it back into my blue here. And the thing about wet into wet is that you are adding wet paint into wet paint. Now as I start blending, you can see that I'm starting to move the paintbrush around. I do not have much pressure on my brush. I am just using the tip of the brush to move and mix the wet layer of yellow onto the blue. And I want to blend it all the way back so that it starts making a green. Okay? So now here you can see that it's a little bit messy. This is where, see there's a mix of paint on my brush, this is where I would use a tissue and I would just wipe off my brush. You don't need to use water in between each colour because it will dilute the paint. So now with my cleaner brush, I'm going to come back in. You can see I'm moving the brush around a lot. When you first start blending, you don't need to worry about having very smooth brush marks. What you want to focus on is that you have a transition from dark to light. So I'm going to clean off my brush again because I'm going to come back here. I can see that there is a transition here that needs to be softer. So tip of my brush, just the fibers. I'm not pushing down on my brush, and you can see that the paint is just moving around. And see, I want it to move around so that it's a nice soft transition from dark to light. Okay, so now I want to extend this colour out further. I'm going to take a little bit more yellow so that I can make it even yellower, so it transitions from the blue to a dark green to a mid-green yellowy and yellow-green and then to a yellow. And the next colour, the next paint I'm going to add will be a white so that we can see this yellow tone from a yellow to a lighter yellow all the way to white. So I'm going to clean my brush off again so that I can tidy up these areas because I don't want any lines in my paint. I don't mind about brush strokes at this stage. I don't mind about texture. It doesn't need to be smooth. The more you practice, the more you can practice how smooth you want it to be. Right now, I just want for you to practice tonal range from dark to light. So again, like I added the yellow, I went out a bit and then I brought it back. I'm going to do the same with the white so that at the end the white stays quite clean. And again, now I'm blending it in. You can see I'm blending it back into the yellow here. Teeny bit more. Okay, I'm going to clean my brush off because I've got quite a bit of white on there, and then I'm going to tidy up these areas where it was a little bit definite, the change between. Now when you're using the tip of the brush, you can feel sometimes when the paint's getting a little bit dry. So what you can do is you can sometimes add a teeny tiny, just a drop in your water of, oops, got a little bit too much yellow on there, of water, and it will help the paint move around a little bit more. While it's still a little wet, you can add more. Now you can see my white's kind of disappeared a little bit here, so I'm going to take a little bit more, come right on the end here and blend it in. I'm not going to take it too far back because it'll change the colours. Blend. Again, just using the tip of the brush. I don't want a lot of pressure because that will push the paint around too much. See, I'm changing all the direction of my brush strokes. It's not ever all in the same direction. Okay, so now you can see that that has got a tonal change from your darker blues, adding some yellow to make the green, to a lighter yellow, to a white.